Welcome back to more Pikmin 2. Last time, we got through the rest of the subterranean complex, so this time, we're making one more trip to the Valley of Repose. For today, I want to bring along 25 of each Pikmin type, except the red Pikmin. That definitely feels like it's been a pattern so far in the series, but I promise we'll be seeing them again very soon. On that note, I actually completely failed to acknowledge that by paying off the debt, we unlocked an additional area to explore, which we will be seeing on the next in-game day. Again, since we already made some progress in the Valley of Repose because it's the tutorial area, I kind of wanted to finish up this area first and then explore the new area once we're done with everything else. Also, in terms of like difficulty scaling, it makes sense to save this area for last. On the subject of areas, since the Awakening Wood was the Forest of Hope, and the Perplexing Pool was the Distant Spring, it's safe to assume that the other areas could also have references to areas from the first game. However, that's actually not the case for this area. The Valley of Repose is completely original. It is not based on any area from Pikmin 1, which actually makes it very unique. I do feel like this area is kind of linear. It makes sense because it is essentially the tutorial area, but it definitely doesn't feel as like open, and like it's kind of designed to be in a line, like where everything's laid out. Obviously there are a couple of like paths off to the side for a couple treasures, but in general this area feels very linear even once you have all the Pikmin types, and can explore freely. So up on this hill we have a Cannon Beetle larva. I put Olimar there on purpose to distract the Cannon Beetle so we wouldn't have to worry about actually like trying to climb the hill while also worrying about a Cannon Beetle. Luckily the boulder is stopped by like this little ledge on the in the snow here, so even though all the Pikmin fell down, they weren't in danger, so that was very nice. Over here we have another Withering Blowhog, and off-screen I actually double-checked some of their characteristics, and I'm pretty sure I got a lot wrong, so to clarify, the difference with the two types of Blowhogs is, unlike in the first game, the puffy Blowhogs do not remove flowers from Pikmin. So it's only the Withering Blowhogs that revert Pikmin to leaves. Up here we have this crown. Let's have the purple Pikmin carefully carry this down. I have gotten this stuck before in the past, and right on cue, it looks like I got stuck again somehow. Just my luck. So we'll have to figure out some solution to this problem in a bit. In the meantime, let's have the purple Pikmin build this bridge. Maybe using a different kind of Pikmin would help. Like maybe having the purple Pikmin carry it, like somehow the like angles off of when they're carrying it, so it gets stuck there. So we'll try with the other Pikmin, see if we have better luck. I also feel like purple Pikmin have a lot of trouble with this hill, so that's also why I like to take some time to distract the Cannon Beetle, because yeah, it's really difficult to actually navigate Pikmin up this hill anyway, but especially the purple Pikmin. But yeah, now that's at this weird angle, it's also hard for the Pikmin to even latch onto the treasure at all. So yeah, maybe don't use purple Pikmin, because I've actually tried this a couple times, and yeah, this has happened every time. So yeah, don't use purple Pikmin for this treasure. Make sure to use the other types. Yeah, they got no problem. The only problem was actually having them yeah, latch onto the treasure. However, we actually need the yellow Pikmin for our final above-ground treasure here. So we're going to trade off with the white Pikmin and the blue Pikmin, just for the sake of efficiency, but again, we actually do need the yellow Pikmin for something else momentarily. So yeah, now that they're carrying that back, we're gonna mosey on over to where we found the Fiery Bulb Blacks here, because there's actually a treasure around this area. So we have this little carving up here. I know this is based on like an actual like art piece, but now I can't dissociate it from Splatoon. I may or may not have been playing a ton of Salmon Run since the launch of Splatoon 3. Salmon Run is basically my favorite mode, by the way, so yeah, I have played a ton of it, and I really like it in Splatoon 3, but I feel like it's way more difficult and can be a little bit frustrating at times because of how much the difficulty scales, especially compared to in Splatoon 2, where it always felt a lot more manageable. But yeah, it's been a very interesting experience. Alright, so this is almost back. For 120 Pokos, we have the Unspeakable Wonder. Also, I don't think I ever pointed this out, but also up here there are a couple of eggs you can break for nectar or sprays. Speaking of which, we got a spicy spray. I'm not even going to worry about the glitch, we have so many. But also with the Puffy Blowhog, I'm pretty sure I said it can't knock down captains. It actually can. So both types can actually knock captains down. It's just that one will, revert Pikmin to Leaf form. So yeah, I have been double-checking a lot of things off-screen because even though I have played this game a lot, I do feel like my memory for a lot of elements of it are a bit hazy, partly because of how big this game is. It's actually kind of surprising how much content there is. And finally, we have the fossilized Ursidae for 160 Pokos. So that takes care of the above-ground treasures. All that's left is to go and finish up this area with the final cavern at the very opposite end of this area. Unfortunately, the nectar is only near the landing site. There's not really another place to get nectar other than from a honey wisp by the entrance to the subterranean complex. So hopefully we'll be able to find some nectar inside the cavern, because we did lose a couple of purple Pikmin, or purple flowers, in the process of, fighting all of these enemies up here. I was wondering why my numbers were off, and it's because a couple got left behind up here. But with that, we have basically cleared out everything, and we're ready to tackle our final challenge of the Valley of Repose. Yet another cave discovered. Venturing to the farthest reaches has proven rewarding. You may be tired of walking, but just one last leap remains. Now, go get that treasure. This is the Frontier Cavern. Believe it or not, this sublevel has actually been giving me a lot of trouble. This is like my third or fourth attempt, and these little enemies here are the reason why. This is a doodle bug. It can show up really suddenly and poison your Pikmin. It's basically like a flint beetle or a glint beetle, except it's poison element and can actually drop bitter spray, which is the good thing about them. But like here, it showed up immediately as soon as we landed, so there's very little time to react to that. Might as well actually get multiples of these, just as backups. Again, I'm not as concerned about the spicy spray by comparison, but with the bitter spray, it's really good to have in case of emergencies, like we saw in the shower room with the bumbling snitch bug, where we basically had to use one to save a Pikmin. I think there's another doodle bug somewhere, so my advice would be to basically go with a group of purple Pikmin to very easily stagger it and kind of move carefully and try to expect it. One of the worst things about Pikmin 2 is just how little you can actually expect, especially if you haven't, played the game before, just getting like caught off guard by a bunch of different hazards is really annoying. And yeah, I've talked about this extensively, but yeah, like not remembering a certain hazard and then getting caught off guard, and that's usually why I've been having to restart a lot of these floors. It's just not expecting, like, oh, a Wollywog fell down from the ceiling, and things like that. So yeah, a lot of these floors have been taking me a couple tries. I kind of wish we weren't already having this much trouble on sub-level 1 of this cavern, because I do remember a couple areas later on being a little bit annoying, but hopefully things don't go too badly. This is the essence of rage for 70 Pokos. So we're not quite done here yet. Also, I'm pretty sure I didn't draw any attention to this at all in the subterranean complex, but we actually have a new variation of the Bulborb, the Hairy Bulborb. It's basically fought the same way as a red Bulborb, basically attack it usually with purple Pikmin. Oh wow, there are actually 3 on this floor, I actually didn't know that. So again, speaking of things catching me off guard, yeah, I genuinely didn't know there would be another one on this floor. I thought we would have just had the 2. So I'm glad both appeared when I was already ready to fight the 1, so I didn't actually have to worry too much about that. Yeah, the Hairy Bulborbs are basically fought the same way as a red Bulborb. And yeah, again, the dwarf Bulborbs in this case are actually not Bulborbs, they're actually bread bugs. It is a really weird technicality. I'm actually wondering, like, why certain things are, like, set up this way in Pikmin, like, in terms of, like, the lore. Wow, we got, like, a lot here. We got 2 from each of these, which gives us, like, 4 here, and we got a couple from the other Doodlebug. So yeah, we're pretty much set. I don't think we'll need any more sprays for the duration of this adventure. We are, well, yeah, we're definitely set with 16. But yeah, it's good to have extras, because you never know when you have to pull off like an emergency save with a bitter spray. So yeah, I do recommend having a lot, but this is just overkill at this point. Looks like we have another buried treasure up here. At least, hoping I don't jinx myself, but I'm pretty sure there are no bombs on this floor to worry about. So that's something. But again, I have the cursor pointed at the Pikmin just in case I jinx myself and there actually is a bomb that I don't remember being on this floor, because you never know with this game. Yeah, we are good to go, and this should be the last treasure, at least as far as I remember on this floor. For 100 Pokos, we have the Essential Furnishing. And yeah, that was indeed the last treasure on sub-level 1. When I was planning for this series, I actually realized a comparison to another franchise that actually is kind of apt. I had the realization that the Pikmin series follows a somewhat similar trajectory as 3D Mario games, actually. Where Mario 64 was kind of like the trendsetter, it kind of like was trying something new in the case of being like a 3D platformer, similar to how Pikmin was trying to be like a strategy game in a very unique style. And it generally succeeds, but definitely is rough around the edges because of things like glitches and just like lack of polish, like the ability to have Pikmin clip through the ground because of like a Bulborb landing on them, things like that. So in general, as much as I think Pikmin is a really impressive like first attempt at the series, and definitely has aged slightly poorly because of how glitchy it is. But in general, I still like the game a lot. But it definitely has rough edges because of its age. Pikmin 2, on the other hand, definitely kind of feels like the Super Mario Sunshine of the Pikmin series, where I like the game, partly because of nostalgia, but in no way could I ever say that I think this is like, the best game in the series, just because it is extraordinarily, like, punishing. In the case of Sunshine, I feel like a lot of that has to do with it being rushed. Like, a lot of the level design doesn't feel, like, solid, literally and figuratively. Like, the pachinko stage just feels like a complete mess in terms of, like, hit detection on things. But in general, Pikmin 2 is less glitchy than, like, Sunshine in this analogy, but has the same problem of, like, padding and also difficulty spikes. Like, a lot of the caverns tend to drag on for a bit, kind of like the blue coins in a way, and then you'll just randomly hit a wall, like with the river, the poison river, or like the submerged castle in this game. Next up is the Joy Receptacle for 60 Pokos. I do like how a lot of the cavern items are themed, like we're kind of in a, like, Christmas mood with all the items we've been finding so far, which is actually kind of nice. And we've seen that before in other areas. And for 85 Pokos, we have the Icon of Progress. So that's another floor taken care of, so let's carefully make our way over here. Again, no surprises on this floor, thankfully. I generally remembered every major enemy and hazard, so we were not caught off guard as much. And we have another floor where a lot of things can go wrong. You might notice a Bulbmin patrolling over there. We actually don't need a spray this time because we actually have purple Pikmin. We can actually fight it relatively easily. I say as I almost immediately lose a purple Pikmin to a Bulbear of all things. But yeah, we can actually fight this much more easily. Got the stun right away. Resolving that fight very quickly. We also have a Geyser, and we also have an adult Bulbear. Really quickly, I'm going to go out of my way to destroy this electricity as quickly as possible, because I really don't want to have to fight a Bulbear right next to electricity. So yeah, we'll destroy that. One strategy is because of this like maze-like setup, one thing you could actually do is set up a group of Pikmin or a captain on the other side of a wall, and basically distract. So for example, with the president here, and these yellow Pikmin, we can basically go over here. That'll actually get the Bulbear's attention, which means we can essentially sneak up behind it. I'm not going to take any chances though, I'm still going to petrify it with a bitter spray, just to be on the safe side, because I've had Bulbear fights go really poorly. So yeah, but that is an option to basically deliberately like have the other group or a captain serve as a distraction for a roaming enemy. Same goes for like the Gatling Groink as another good example of that. And like the that enemy, the Bulbear, I don't know if I actually mentioned it. I feel like I did, but I don't remember. The Bulbear will eventually regenerate health if you don't destroy it through petrification or carry it back to the escape pod. So it is definitely worthwhile to try to use a bitter spray if you have one, because then you won't have to worry about carrying it back in a time limit before it actually gets back, or before it revives and gets back up and tries to eat all of your Pikmin. So yeah, a very scary enemy. For 120 Pokos, we have the Danger Chime. So it looks like we're not done yet. I think I know where the last treasure is. I think I saw it in the background as we were fighting. So let's take the white Pikmin and the purple Pikmin over this way. Yeah, I see it up there. Again, it's actually nice playing a game with a cursor because if there's something off in the distance you want to point out, you literally just point at the screen, making it very easy to explain some things. I don't trust this, to be honest. It's just an egg, but you never know with this game if they're gonna drop, like, another ball bear into this, like, area. Like, that could happen. A ball bear could fall out of the sky. This is absolutely foreshadowing to something we will be dealing with much later on, to be... And we have the Fleeting Art form for 75 Pokos. We are still not done. My assumption is this is probably buried, because I don't see anything else. The radar was going off around here, in like this zone. So let's actually check over here. Again, it's probably buried. It doesn't even feel like it's buried in like a dead end, which is actually kind of unusual, because a lot of treasures end up being buried at dead ends. But yeah, this is just buried like right by the geyser. So we also have a lot of poison to deal with, but again, we needed white Pikmin, not for the poison on this floor, but mostly for just digging up things, and same with the previous couple floors. Yeah, I actually like how the Bulborbs and Ball Bears actually have distinct differences, but it's also just kind of unfortunate that now Ball Bears, instead of just being like tougher Bulborbs, they're like literally one of the worst regular enemies in the entire game, because they're actually that difficult to fight without using like a bitter spray or something. At least we didn't have to deal with that in the submerged castle. For 100 Pokos, this is the Gemstar Husband. And with that, we are finally done with this floor. Yet again, we're starting out in kind of a dangerous spot here. We have a ton of enemies around. I think one of the toughest parts to me about Pikmin 2 is threat assessment. Like, in Pikmin 1, you can kind of like take your time, kind of figure out what you're trying to do. Really, like you have a time limit, obviously, but you can still kind of, yeah, take your time and like assess situations. While with Pikmin 2, you're kind of just thrown into danger and have to figure out what you're doing like immediately, and that's like way worse in terms of like overall difficulty. Speaking of which, I think first of all he needs to defeat this because it's actually getting in the way of fighting the snitch bugs. Once we take out like this snitch bug, I think we will be good to go, and might not actually need to fight the bumbling one, just because it's not really like going to affect us. Most of the hazards are electricity, and we'll be using the yellow Pikmin mostly anyway, so yeah, I feel like we can actually kind of leave them alone. By the way, with Pikmin being able to rendezvous with you at the end of a floor, obviously that only accounts for Pikmin that are not buried, so you will want to retrieve any Pikmin that have been like buried in the ground. That was actually very fortuitous because we definitely needed nectar for those leaf Pikmin. But yeah, you definitely want to retrieve any Pikmin that got buried or planted, but beyond that, you really don't need to worry about like rounding up your entire like squad in terms of like actually leaving the cavern, which is nice, but also does remove some of the difficulty of it. Let's try to fight these anode beetles. For 100 Pokos, we have the Innocence Lost. Well, that was terrifying. I threw the Pikmin right as they were starting to spark, and then the cutscene started playing. So it was just a combination of a lot of things that were very much yikes in terms of timing. Again, there can occasionally be like cutscene glitches with Pikmin dying, so I'm really hoping that we get to the end of this cavern and it still says 0 Pikmin lost, because there's actually a chance, depending on if that glitch happens, we might have technically lost a Pikmin even though they're all fine. By the way, if you get picked up by the bumbling snitch bug, you can basically spin the control stick to break free. But yeah, overall these aren't that dangerous unless you're like actually dealing with like an enemy and then the Pikmin are helpless. And we have the Omniscient Sphere for 85 Pokos. Alright, that takes care of sub-level 4.